Spending borrowed capital to buy respect only buys your own absolute invisibility. The strangers you are destroying your financial life to impress on the internet do not care about you. They are simply using your rented lifestyle as a benchmark for their own synthetic egos. Society has engineered a fatal psychological illusion. You have been programmed from birth to believe that broadcasting your wealth is the ultimate proof of success. But the clinical, mathematical reality is exactly the opposite. Every single dollar you spend to signal your status to the world is a dollar permanently subtracted from your true net worth. Looking rich is the fastest, most efficient way to guarantee that you stay permanently broke. We are currently living through the most aggressive wealth transfer in modern human history, driven by algorithms designed to monetize your insecurity. The financial window to escape this digital status trap is closing today. If you click away from this video and continue to fund a rented lifestyle just to impress people you do not even like, you are voluntarily signing a contract to remain a highly paid slave to commercial banks. You will bleed your finite capital into luxury car leases and designer brands until the next inevitable economic crisis wipes out your fragile ecosystem completely. The cost of ignoring this reality is the absolute, irreversible loss of your future freedom. But if you stay, I will reveal the dark architecture of synthetic status. I will show you the exact psychological blueprint the elite use to reject the illusion of conspicuous consumption, hide their capital, and build unbreakable, silent equity. This is the financial truth that the luxury marketing matrix desperately wants to keep hidden from you. The man in the car paradox. To understand why your desire to look successful is mathematically destroying you, you must first understand the fundamental flaw in human social validation. In his research on the psychology of money, financial author Morgan Housel identifies a profound behavioral blind spot known as the man in the car paradox. Imagine you are walking down the street, and a brand new $300,000 Ferrari pulls up to the stoplight. When you look at that car, you rarely look at the driver and think, wow, the guy driving that car is so cool and successful. Instead, your brain completely ignores the driver. You stare at the machine and think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I am so cool and successful. Do you see the fatal paradox? The person who bought the Ferrari spent $300,000 of their capital specifically because they wanted the world to admire them. They wanted to buy respect. They wanted to buy status. But the world does not admire them. The pedestrians, the onlookers, the strangers on the internet, they bypass the driver entirely and use the luxury item as a mirror to project their own desires. When you finance luxury goods to signal your wealth, you think you are buying admiration. In reality, you are buying your own invisibility. You become a nameless, faceless mannequin funding a prop for someone else's daydream. This is the brutal tragedy of the modern middle class. People exhaust their physical and mental energy working 60 hours a week in stressful corporate jobs, only to trade their hard-earned capital for depreciating liabilities that completely fail to deliver the emotional reward they were promised. You are paying a massive premium to participate in a game where the prize does not even exist. You are funding your own cage to impress an audience of ghosts. Ego tax and synthetic status. Why do highly intelligent, highly educated professionals fall into this trap? Because they misunderstand the evolutionary biology of status. In primitive human tribes, status was a mechanism for physical survival. If you were respected by the tribe, you received a larger share of the food and greater protection from predators. Seeking status was a biological imperative. But in the modern, hyper-financialized world, this primitive instinct has been weaponized against you. When you buy a $60,000 luxury SUV instead of a reliable $20,000 vehicle, the extra $40,000 is not paying for better transportation. It is paying for an emotion. It is a premium paid exclusively to broadcast a message about your position in the social hierarchy. We call this the ego tax. The ego tax is the difference between what an item practically does and what it costs to have a luxury logo stamped on it. When you pay the ego tax, you are voluntarily taking your future financial freedom, your margin of safety, and your generational wealth, and handing it over to a luxury corporation. You are impoverishing your future self to briefly medicate your current insecurities. And the system is perfectly designed to make this trap feel normal. Modern capitalism is incredibly efficient at two things: generating massive wealth and generating massive envy. We judge financial success entirely by what we can see. We cannot see a person's brokerage account. We cannot see their compound interest. We cannot see the massive, suffocating credit card debt keeping them awake at 3 a.m. We only see the designer clothes, the extravagant vacations, and the leased vehicles. Because we only see the spending, we falsely equate spending with wealth. We assume that if someone has a lot of expensive things, they must have a lot of money. But the mathematical truth of the universe is that wealth is not what you spend. Wealth is exactly what you do not spend. Wealth is what you do not see. To escape the destruction of synthetic status, you must completely rewire your definition of what it means to be wealthy. You must understand the critical, life-saving difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is a current income. It is visible. The corporate manager making $200,000 a year is rich because they generate enough cash flow to make the heavy monthly payments on their luxury apartment and their German sports car. It is not hard to spot rich people. They are usually screaming for your attention, but wealth is completely hidden. Wealth is the income not spent. Wealth is the luxury cars not purchased. The first-class upgrades declined. The diamond watches ignored. Wealth consists of financial assets that have not yet been converted into the physical stuff you see. This is highly counterintuitive for the human brain. You cannot contextualize what you cannot observe. When the average person says, "I want to be a millionaire," what they actually mean is, "I want to spend $1 million." And spending $1 million is the exact mathematical opposite of being a millionaire. Consider the famous case of the global pop star Rihanna. After generating tens of millions of dollars in revenue, she almost went completely bankrupt due to extreme overspending on luxury real estate, private jets, and depreciating assets. She attempted to sue her financial advisor for the loss of her fortune. The advisor famously responded in court. Was it really necessary to tell her that if you spend money on things, you will end up with the things and not the money? It sounds like a cruel joke, but high-income earners fall into this exact psychological trap every single day. Think of building wealth like diet and exercise. Losing weight is notoriously difficult, even for people who exercise vigorously. The psychological trap is that people overestimate how many calories they burn in a workout, and then they reward themselves by consuming twice as many calories as they just burned. They think, "I did the work, I earned the reward." Earning a high salary operates on the exact same psychological flaw. You think, "I worked hard for this paycheck, I suffered through the corporate stress, now I deserve to treat myself to a luxury purchase." Wealth is rejecting that purchase. It is turning down the meal. The only way to build true wealth is to aggressively protect the gap between your ego and your income. Your expensive clothes and your financed cars are an illusion. They are financial weapons designed to help you look rich while mathematically guaranteeing that your net worth stays at zero. Zero-sum social media game. If the desire for status is so destructive, why is it accelerating? The answer lies in the dark architecture of the platforms you stare at every single day. According to the wealth philosophy of Naval Ravikant, human society operates on two distinct games, the wealth creation game and the status game. Wealth creation is a positive-sum game. When you build a business, write code, or create a product, you are adding value to the world. You win and society wins. But status is a primitive, zero-sum game. Because status is relative, the only way for you to move up in the social hierarchy is to push someone else down. It is an endless, unwinnable war of dominance. And modern social media algorithms were clinically engineered to weaponize this zero-sum game against your psychology. Before the internet, your social comparison was hyper-local. You only competed with the people in your physical neighborhood. If you had a decent job and a clean house, you felt successful. Today, the algorithm takes the top 1% of the most glamorous, highly edited, heavily filtered lifestyles on the planet and mainlines them directly into your brain 24 hours a day. The platforms do not want you to feel connected. They want you to feel deeply, painfully inadequate. When you constantly compare your behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's curated highlight reel, you experience a manufactured sense of deprivation. This programmed envy triggers your biological survival instinct, forcing you to consume. You buy things you do not need, with money you do not have, to project an image of success onto a digital screen, hoping to win a game that is rigged by the code itself. You are no longer a sovereign individual. You are an algorithmic slave, bleeding your finite capital to generate advertising revenue for a tech monopoly. The loudest, flashiest people on your feed are not the winners of the economic game. They are its greatest victims. They are secretly broke, highly leveraged, and terrified of losing the synthetic validation that is keeping their fragile egos from collapsing. Escaping the rented lifestyle. How do the true 1% protect themselves from this trap? How do they build unbreakable generational empires while the middle class drowns in social debt? They understand that the highest dividend money pays is not a luxury good. The highest, most profound value of capital is its ability to give you absolute control over your own time. The ultimate form of wealth is not a sports car. It is the ability to wake up every single morning and say, "I can do whatever I want today." It is the ability to wait for a perfect investment opportunity instead of being forced to take a terrible job out of desperation. It is the ability to walk away from a toxic corporate environment without a second thought because your survival does not depend on a fragile paycheck. When you use your capital to buy synthetic status, You are trading your future sovereignty for a cheap, temporary hit of dopamine. You are proving to the world that you are a highly effective consumer, but a completely vulnerable human being. You must conduct a brutal audit of your reality today. Look at your bank statements. Look at the items you have purchased over the last 12 months. Are you deploying your capital to acquire decentralized assets like equity, code, media, and investments that work for you while you sleep? Or are you simply funding a rented lifestyle to look successful in front of people whose opinions do not matter? Poverty is not just a lack of money. It is a series of reactive, emotional decisions based on the desperate need for external validation. Wealth is a series of proactive, structured choices based on long-term survival, absolute ownership, and total silence. The true elite do not need permission to be wealthy, and they certainly do not need an audience. They build their empires in the dark. They understand that visibility creates friction, and friction destroys compounding. Every dollar you save by rejecting the loud status game is a brick in your financial fortress. Every dollar you spend trying to look rich is a crack in your foundation. The system was perfectly engineered to keep you fragile by monetizing your envy. Now it is your turn to hack the system. Starve your ego, build your silent leverage, stop buying your own invisibility. Hit the subscribe button to join the minority building true sovereignty. But before you go, the debate is open. Be brutally honest. Are you currently building silent equity, or are you just funding a rented lifestyle to impress people you don't even know? Defend your reality in the comments below. Let's see who actually understands the math of survival. Master your mind, build your system. See you in the next protocol.